Hello guys, I hope you had an awesome weekend and also an awesome day. For today, what we're gonna do, first of all, hope you guys went through what I sent you this last week, and I told you guys to read the book House of Mango Street and also watch the movie Color Purple. And so for today, is what we're gonna do is we're gonna compare both the House of Mango Street and the movie Color Purple. We're gonna find characteristics of how they comply to each other, how they differentiate to each other, and we're gonna find three key elements of both book and movie. So let's begin with the House of Mango Street, guys. We're gonna give you some time to think about what you guys think about the House of Mango Street. You get to go ahead and talk with each other. We'll talk with your peers. And right now we're gonna answer questions. Alright guys, I think I gave you guys enough time to share with your peers and also gather more information. And let's begin this lesson. Okay, House of Mango Street. It's a book I assigned you guys to read. So let's start with the main character. The main character is Esperanza. Speranza, it's a little, in the book, in the story, it's a little girl that goes through a lot of situations in which she learns how to mature more as a woman, but not in the proper way a woman wants to fully develop. She, of course, goes through many experiences like traumas, sexual abuse, or many other roles of women that are not present in her life. So we already know our main character is Esperanza. So we're gonna have to add three key elements here, which we're gonna later compare and contrast with the movie Color Purple. So first of all, we gotta know about the role of woman. The role of woman is our first key point. You know, the both main characters in the movie and the book are both women. All right. So moving on to the second one, the abuse and effect on Esperanza. I already gave you a prior knowledge to what we're going to go through on about all the abuse and experiences that Esperanza went and how it affects on her life, on her how she thinks and how she acts. Now, as you can see, the third key point is not here because the third key point is going to be responsible of you guys to know. And the third key point that I'm going to tell you right now, it's text to world or text to self. How you can compare the experiences or what's the main idea of the House of Mango Street compares, or you can reflect on how do you see this being on the world, the day-to-day life, or many cultures, cross cultures, ethnicities. I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot of experiences with that, and also text to self, which is you experiencing how it reflects to your own life, to what you have experienced, not to what you see from the others. All right, so okay, let's begin. Esperanza. Esperanza is a little girl in the story that goes through a lot of experiences, traumatic experiences that affect her in a way that she has to learn more about what is to mature. And let's begin with the role of woman. In this story, we can see that woman, because it's in the time or the culture, are gonna be treated differently from how you guys think. So let's see. Role of woman. What we know about the role of woman is that women are perceived as, I'm not trying to say just sexual objects, but are often seen more about their sexuality. Let's see. Looked upon. Alright, so let's see. The sexuality looked upon. That's a role of woman. Also, in the Hispanic household, how Esperanza is portrayed, also women are right here expected to be housewives. The housewives. Also, Let's see. What else? What else? What else? Let's think about it. Role of women are all in the House of Mango Street is they're expected to mature way faster. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of the saying that women mature more earlier and faster than men. So let's see. Mature earlier. Alright. So that's a key point. Alright, so let's talk about the culture first. The House of Mango Street, we already know by the characters that are presented, by the means of it. It's an Hispanic household. It's an Hispanic community with ethnicity, Latino, how we could know it, right? Nowadays, also the role of women also has a great impact in how the abuse and effect on Esperanza portrayed. As you can see in the story, Esperanza is often thinking about how she wants to explore her sexuality with other boys, but often how she experiences that is with. There's been, I don't know if you guys saw it in the book. There's a part where she was approached without her consent. You know, there's a guy and approached her and gave her a kiss, and of course she was devastated. And you also see how there's not many woman figures that have a certain effect on Esperanza to show how strong or independent she is. So the abuse and effect on Esperanza are gonna have a positive impact on her, because not only she doesn't have, there's a character that shows this strong portrayal of woman, which is the main theme we're going for. Let's put it right here. Our main theme right here, what we're going to learn about, is strong woman. Strong woman. So we can already infer that Esperanza is going to be a strong woman. So let's see. The abuse, like how stated right here, right now, is going to have a positive impact. Going to have a positive impact. And why? Why does it have a positive impact? Because, as we can see in the story, or how she reflects everything she goes through, she wants to leave Mango Street. Most women would just let's see, another character we see in the story, Sally by any means. She just accepts what she is, and she wants to marry a man at a young age, which she does, and she's just basically owning the role of that woman that play in the House of Mango Street. So why is it a positive impact? Because Esperanza wants to leave the House of Mango Street. And why is it a positive impact? Is because she doesn't want to have this life where she doesn't dream, or she doesn't hope for better things. And that's a quality of a strong woman. In my opinion, that's a quality of a strong woman, because even though all the adversity she went through, she's basically still going on with life, still exploring what her maturity is, what it is to be a woman, instead of just owning it. So, yeah, so for the abuse and effect on Esperanza, where we covered that, the role of women, where you know that their sexuality is looked upon. They're meant to be or expected to be housewives and go through the mandate of men. And they also know that in this story, they mature earlier, and they often explore their sexuality earlier. So let's see. So now I'm gonna add the text to world. Key point. Now, so text to world. So for what I have seen, and right now I'll tell you from what I have experienced, is that women are often as I can say, look for their sexuality instead of what they are. And I feel that's a major key point that plays in this story, because it's often it's real experiences that women live on the day to day. So for text the world is that women are looked upon their sexuality. So we can see this playing a having a similarities with the role of women and text to world. So see how we're comparing already for this key point. So text to world, alright. Now, from what I have seen right now, you're gonna have the opportunity to share from what you have seen, is that women across cultures or ethnicities, or however you want to call it, is that there are often the ones below the men. So as you can see, below men, they are often characterized below the man. So what are the characteristics of a woman being below the man? Well, as you can see, Hispanic culture, like most of us, they're meant to be housewives. They, like I also stated right now, they're meant to mature earlier in stage. So as you can see, we have a star here below man. I already gave you the two characteristics of a woman being below man in a culture. They're meant to be housewives. They mature earlier. You see, in the Hispanic culture, what I have seen, and also across many different cultures, is that women from an earlier age, they have a sense of what's the world ready. They often experience scenarios like Esperanza go through, and it's nothing new to the world. So you see, we're already connected. Now, it's optional, but we can also say let's connect it to, let's see, text to world, text to self, text to self. Now I can correlate to text to self to what I've experienced, because as Esperanza, I come from a Latino background, and you see, if my families, from my family that I visited, talked with, women are often housewives. Women are often housewives, including my tias, my mom. Even though I'm against it, it's just something I can correlate to. Strong woman. I can correlate to strong woman. Why is it? Alright guys, so moving onto the movie Color Purple. So let's see, let's begin with the main character. Remember guys, our main theme of this assignment we're doing is that we're looking for strong woman. It's gonna be our main key point right here. Make sure you guys remember it. Alright, so our main character. I know I didn't provide many characters for the last for the book of Mango Street, but for right here, there's a lot of importance on many characters. Okay, so main character we know, which is Silly. Silly is the main character. It's a African American woman, and the color purple. Where it takes time is during the early 1900s, the 1910s, and also during the 1930s. If I'm not mistaken, they take place during this time. So of course it's a different scenario for what we know. Okay. So African American woman. So what's going on with Celie in this movies, or which is based on a book? So Celie is um, a young lady, 14 years old with its current time, which at such a young early age she's already experienced many traumatic events. One of them being raped by his parents, by his father, which is it's Alfonso. Uh, which with the kids that Celie had, she was separated from them at an early age, so she's already had trauma before that for this, and also the role of woman, which right now we're gonna put it in the board right here, is that Celie was at a young age after having his children was basically forced to marry another man, which way older than her. Which right now we're gonna add the characters here. Let's see. The other characters we were known about. It's Mr. or how we know as Albert. Also, the Mr. was very abusive of against Celie and all the other kids he had living in the household, and in the relationship they had, it was basically a love relationship. Being a Celie, an African American woman, she was forced to be enslaved by him and be her mistress, kind of basically. And right now we can already see some things comparing to the House of Mango Street. Alright, so another character I want to add on is Nettie. Nettie is gonna be the sister of Celie, which was separated from her in an early age because Mr., or how we know as Albert, hit it on her a lot of times, and Nettie didn't. Well, being a strong, independent woman, something that differentiates from Celie, which from all those years she took just being the mistress of Mr. Albert. She escapes, to leave that ecosystem she was living on. But before that, she escaped the household where she lived, which was with their parents, which was the father was Alfonso. So later on, we're not gonna mention him anymore. But yes, Alfonso was very abusive towards Nettie, but Nettie decided to fight back and escape her home, moving on to Celie, but also faced a lot of abuse in Mister's house. So she eventually ends up leaving her. So Celie goes on for years without knowing about Nettie because Mr. Albert, all the postals she sent to Celie, he basically restrained seeing them for Celie. So Celie didn't know if Nettie was alive or what happened to her. So yeah, this is gonna be Nettie's gonna be an important character right now after we explain the whole theme of the movie. All right, so later on she meets a woman, two women specifically. Oh, let's see. Let's move on with this marker because we're already running out of color. So yeah, the woman is Sophia and also Shug. So Sophia is gonna be a woman, African American woman that marries the son of Mr. Albert, which if his name is Marco, and he marries him. But Sophia is gonna be way different. It's a way different character, different personality from what we're presented from Celie. Sophia, she basically it's like the role of a man when he marries the Mister's son. So she likes to fight back. She doesn't go under the mandate of man, and she is a strong, independent woman. So we see right here. where it's starting to correlate to strong woman. Shug, the other hand, was Mister's lover. It was Mister's lover. They're basically both in love with each other, but for some reason, a relationship didn't happen between them. Shug is actually gonna be excuse me, it's gonna be a really important freshman to see. Shug is basically gonna motivate Celie to not go through what a woman is meant to be in those times of age based on her race or ethnicity or sex. So Celie and Shug have a nice relationship until Shug leaves because she was a famous singer. She leaves to Memphis and back again. She's with Mister, facing more abuse, more labor that she has to do, and so on. So after this happens, Shugs comes back and she meets up with Celie, but then Celie is actually gonna have this different motivation to not go through what she's going on. So eventually, Shug and Celie, they're gonna both find the postal cards that Nettie was sending to Celie, because Celie was so devastated that she didn't know if she was alive or not. But eventually, they find out the postal cards that Mister was hiding from them, and that's basically a motivation to not go through what Celie was going. So Shug and Sophia are definitions of two strong women. Strong woman. So we already see you have a correlation. Celie is basically has enough. She's fed up, and she reveals to Mister, and they eventually both end up leaving. Shug and Celie and Sophia, they end up leaving the Mandate of Men, and so on. Later on, 30 years after she disappeared, Celie ends up meeting with Natty again, and actually remember about the children that she had. I told you about. They're alive. They were living with a Shug in Africa. So yeah, and that's basically the end of the story. Let's go on with the 3 key points. The role of woman, I think I already stated to you guys already. The role of woman. Let's see. So for the role of woman, we know that women are meant to be, even though they're going through a lot of backlash for slavery at that time or racism at that time, women are still meant to be housewives. And something that I notice a lot is that they are seen as sexual objects. They're seen as sexual objects. All right. So we already see the role of women comparing to the House on Mango Street. So for the second key point, which was the abuse and effect on the characters, let's move on with another marker. No, this one doesn't work. We're gonna stick with red. So let's put it on right here. So it was abuse and effects on Celie. Alright. So the abuse and effects on Celie, we're actually gonna it's a different effect from what we saw with Esperanza in the House of Mango Street. She just basically takes it. She basically at some point she's fed up and she reveals herself onto the men, but she basically takes it. She's just very traumatized to like reveal herself. She's scared. She's basically scared scared. All that trauma, all those experiences she went through, she's just scared. It's just another motivation for her to be scared, to have to think that what she's doing is actually gonna do good to a key element, that it's God. So scared, God. Let's see. So God has a very influential aspect on her, because she believes that if she just follows the mandate of man, she's basically she's gonna buy her way into heaven. But in reality, it's not like that. So for pretty much that's it for the color purple. Celie eventually, after all that trauma, after all those experiences, she basically reveals into man and shows the resilience of a strong woman, because she's going on with life. She doesn't quit. She eventually meets up. Alright, so I think I gave you enough time to reflect on with your peers about the color purple. We also went over with you guys with the color purple. I also went over the House of Mango Tree. We went over the 3 key points. We also went over the 3 key points with color purple. I gave you the work to you guys reflect upon each other for the 3rd key point. So right now we're gonna differentiate both selections, and we're also gonna see some similarities. So let's start with the character. The character, we already know the main character for the color purple is Celie, and we also know for the House of Mango Tree, the main character is gonna be Esperanza. Okay, so we already know that. So what are if there's any differences or similarities between Esperanza and Celie, we're gonna know them right now. So right now, the character, let's see if we got a letter R. Celie, which we're putting right here down, we're writing it down, is gonna be a really shy woman who accepts her role as a woman. And we don't have to go into the role of woman into color purple, because we already went over that. But in the House of Mango Tree, Esperanza does not take it like that. Not accept her role as a woman. And of course, this is especially because they're both different ethnicities. Alright, they're both different ethnicities. You know what? Let's say African American. And also because it's a different time. It's a different period of time. So of course, we're gonna follow those differences. So let's see, Hispanic culture right here, and of course time. It's way different. So we found some connections here. Why? All right. So the settings we already know. Basically, the settings here in the color purple is basically in a farm. It's a rural setting. And then in the setting in the House of Mango Tree, well, because we know about the House of Mango Tree, it's going to be in the city. Alright. Culture. African American culture. Basically, I think about the culture between the color purple and House of Mango Street is how we said it was Hispanic and African American culture. Yet, I think African American culture was because of what Celie went through, because she was basically a slave for Mr. Albert. I feel that it's definitely has an influence by slave culture back in the day. So that's his slave culture. And Hispanic culture. Now, for this, we can compare something across these cultures. across these cultures, there's also similarity. The similarity is that they are both women are subordinate below men. They're subordinate of men, and that's basically how we set the role of women. That they were meant to be housewives. They were looked upon their sexuality, and they were meant to mature way earlier than men. So that's already a comparison. It's a similarity already. All right. So for influences, like I told you about the color purple, Seeley had 3 influences of strong women, which could be Nettie, Should, and also Sophia. And we already explained how these show qualities of strong women. And influences in here in the house in Mango Street. So if you guys read the story, you know there's many characters above Esperanza. Their sisters, Sally also, but I feel that most of the characters, just show how they take, just like Seeley, they just take it on. So they just don't do nothing to like beat the system. So we can see as Sally marries a man at such a young age, you know, how those experiences that that she sees because of her sisters, about her friends, she just has to create a sense of the dangers about her sexuality. So influences, she doesn't have a lot of positive influences, not positive influences. So between here, she has positive influence because Nettie, Suge, and Sophia just show qualities of a strong woman. But so it's I think the main difference, what I can mainly differentiate for right now is that the house on Mango Street, although at first Esperanza may seem lost, she's just resilient and just has hopes and dreams of leaving the house on Mango Street. But eventually she knows she has to return, and she later becomes an advocate for those that have voices in this women don't have voices across the woman culture, the Hispanic culture, especially in Mango Street. And it's basically it for Esperanza, is that she just stays resilient across the whole book. While in Color Purple, she's just at first Celie doesn't show qualities of a strong woman because she just accepts her role as a woman instead of fighting it like other characters like Esperanza or Nettie, Sugar, Sophia. And yeah, that's basically it. At last, he just shows what is it to be a strong woman. But secretly, they give a sense because he just stayed strong and resilient across the whole abuse and experiences he faced at such a young early age. So that's pretty much it for differences. I'm pretty sure we could find a lot of more similarities, but besides the culture, I don't think there's a lot of similarity between these, just that they faced a lot of traumatic experiences involving sexuality. Sexuality is a main point on both stories, and we already stated why. We don't have to look more forward into it. We're just going through what we presented right here. And so yeah, that's pretty much it for these two. And just at last, just to add on, I know it wasn't in the key point of a strong woman. We have to remember that strong woman was her key point. So there's basically more themes of racism and sexism. So they provide both themes of racism and sexism. Although our main point was strong woman, I feel that racism and sexism was very emphasized and highlighted throughout reading The House of Mango Street and watching the movie Color Purple. I could find a lot of ideas that convey towards racism and sexism, and I hope you guys also figure that out, because the more you figure out about the story, the more you figure out about the movie, you can see that you can create a lot of points. You can plot them together to figure out what's the movie about, or what's the book about, or what the author or director is trying to provide to you as a message. So yeah, of course, later on we're gonna go through the message of both stories, but for right now we just focused on the main idea of a strong woman. So that's basically it for the compare and contrast of both Color Purple and House of Mango Street, and how they correlate to the main idea of strong woman. So yeah, so right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna have time to share other add-on information you want to add on to our map right here. I know it's pretty messy, but hey, if you guys have any ideas, any other additional information that I have missed on, or if your partners have any peers or other students have any questions, you can let me know, or you can ask your students and your friends. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this. Right now, if you have any questions, I might, of course, answer them. But for right now, we're going to do an activity that involves comparing of Color Purple and House of Mango Street. I'm going to go over right now. I'm just going to prepare the materials, and that's pretty much it. So right now, we'll get back to the class. You guys have around 5 minutes to yourselves. Get ready. Take your colors out. Take your laptops out. Take your materials out. And we're going to start going with the class, all right?